silent, the consequences of not remaining silent, and the right to communicate with an advocate and other person whose assistance is necessary. The National Police Service is mandated to maintain law and order while observing and respecting constitutional provisions. Breaking into homes, as was seen in Kisumu and other places, and affecting improper arrests while dispensing brutality and torture infringes upon the rights of citizens and violates their dignity and sanctity of their private spaces. The Commission calls on the police and other security agents to conduct arrests in a lawful and respectful manner, adhering to established procedures and respecting the rights and dignity of individuals. Respect for judiciary presence and dispersal of citizens. The judiciary is an arm of government and an independent institution in Kenya, and its presence must be respected as spaces for the administration of justice. Reports and recorded cases of security agents violently dispersing citizens and journalists within court premises violates the principles of separation of powers and undermines the rule of law. The Commission urges the government to ensure the protection of the judicial spaces and uphold the independence of that judiciary, allowing citizens and journalists to exercise their right to freedom of expression and access to information without fear of intimidation or reprisals. The infringement also affected lawyers and families of the arrested, thus infringing the right to access legal support and access justice. Allegations of abductions. The Commission has received reports of alleged abductions by persons believed to be police officers in the recent past. These events are worrying as the reminders of our dark past, where the security agencies had special squads that would effect such extrajudicial activities. Such practices violate fundamental human rights and erode trust between the police, the state, and its citizens. These incidences must be investigated transparently and impartially, and those found accountable be held responsible, and any individual found involved in those egregious actions should be brought to book. Assaults and arbitrary arrest of human rights defenders. The Commission has observed increased assaults and arbitrary arrests of human rights defenders who are striving to ensure respect for human rights principles. These defenders play a critical role in promoting accountability and safeguarding citizens' rights, and their safety and protection must be guaranteed. Harassment and injuries of special interest groups and the vulnerable. Special interest groups and vulnerable populations, including women, children, the elderly, and persons with disabilities, must be protected from violence and harassment at all times. Articles 53, 54, and 57 provide for protection and preservation of the special interest group's rights. It was disheartening to see tear gas lobbed into schools and homes. It was also disheartening to see an old lady being beaten up by a policeman, mothers with babies running out of their houses after their residences were tear gassed, and especially a woman in a wheelchair being beaten up by a policeman. The Commission is also greatly concerned by reports of numerous violations against particularly children. It is unfortunate that children, despite their innocence, continue to face the brunt of the violence. Cases of arbitrary arrests and alleged torture against children have been reported, with some children being held at the industrial area remand prison. This is unacceptable. Law enforcement agencies and the justice system must protect our children. No child shall be arbitrarily arrested, detained with adults, or tortured. This must end. The Commission is also concerned about reports that there are several people who are nursing injuries at home for fear of arrest should they seek medication. The right to emergency medical treatment is enshrined in Article 43(2), and we urge all medical personnel to accord medical treatment to the injured while observing the principles of confidentiality. Of affairs in our country, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights urgently calls on all parties involved in the ongoing demonstrations to avoid the grandstanding and to have structured engagement and uphold the rule of law and respect for human rights. The Commission further recommends as follows. 1. Urgent investigations and prosecution of perpetrators of torture and other human rights violations must be prioritized to ensure accountability and justice for the victims and their families. Authorities must expedite the resolution of court cases related to this and ensure access to justice for all citizens who have been arrested and detained. Security agencies must conduct arrests and dispersal operations in a lawful and respectful manner, adhering to constitutional principles, established procedures, and respecting the rights and dignity of individuals and their private spaces. The government should guarantee the protection and independence of the judiciary, ensuring citizens and journalists can exercise their right to freedom of expression and access to information without fear of intimidation or reprisals at the court presence. Thorough and transparent investigations must be conducted into allegations of abductions and infiltration by security agents in media. Members of civil service society organizations should be protected from assaults and arbitrary arrests, as they play a crucial role in promoting accountability and safeguarding citizens' rights. And finally, special interest groups and vulnerable populations must be protected from violence and harassment during demonstrations, ensuring their rights to equality and freedom from discrimination are upheld. As the country navigates these challenging times, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights reiterates the duty and responsibility of all to safeguard human rights and fundamental freedoms in Kenya. The Commission calls on all Kenyan citizens, government institutions, civil society organizations, and the media to work together in fostering a climate of respect for human rights, structured engagements, and peaceful coexistence. The Commission remains engaged in the investigation and accountability of these human rights violations and abuses. In the discharge of its constitutive mandate, the Commission is taking appropriate steps to redress the violations without fear or faltering. Lest we forget, human rights are inherent, interdependent, indivisible, and universal. Human rights cannot be suspended, nor are they optional. They must be observed by all people and institutions in all places at all times. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We would like to invite the media to ask any question that you may have in respect to the media brief that has been given by the Chairperson. Kindly tell us your name and the media house that you represent. You're welcome.
Okay, Chair, my name is Rûhonge from Citizen TV. I will kindly request the Commission to provide us with the figures and the statistics for the numbers of those who have been arrested and have been denied bail, and also the children that are detained or were detained at various police stations that you mentioned.
Thank you. Any other question? Okay, in terms of statistics, we are not able to give you a firm number right now because we are still receiving reports from our monitors on the ground. We will be releasing a report with all the firm data and statistics in the next 2 weeks. So that will be available to you once the report is launched. We do not want to give preemptive data at this stage. But I know for a fact that at the industrial area remand prison, we had at least 7 children remanded. 2 have been bailed out yesterday. The rest are still in custody. Their matters are coming up.
Repercussions of such behaviors being condoned in the current society in the long term in terms of our democracy.
In terms of our democracy, I think we are all aware that human rights are the fulcrum of a democratic state. A country that does not respect its human rights cannot have a clear democratic space. So that is why our call to you, to all as citizens, be responsible and jealously guard our human rights, because this is the foundation for a democratic state. Yes, sir?
I'm Chris Owino from Rûhonge TV. What do you make of the utterances that have been made by the Kenya leaders that seem to be giving the police officers a pat on their back and how they've dealt with the demonstration? Does this, in one way or the other, give the police officer the now to continue with the impunity of assaulting and conducting unlawful arrests?
The National Police Service is an independent entity with its rules and regulations guarding its operations. And whatever the National Police Service does, they must bear individual responsibility. They cannot cite that they were incited or urged on by other parties. The National Police Service has independent command. It is under the Inspector General, and beyond the Inspector General, each individual police officer is also accountable, and that's why we are calling on IPOA to conduct investigations and hold accountable those who may have violated the code.
And maybe to add on the same, I'm Jackson Chacha from TV47. We have police officers who have been injured in the line of duties. What is your take on the same? Because they are also human beings. We are trying to blame them that they are maybe police brutality. What happens to their end? Because you have some of them who are injured, hospitalized. What's your take on that?
We commiserate with all people who have been injured in these actions, whether they are police officers or citizens. And for each and every person, we call for justice. Every person is a human being. Every person must be afforded their human rights. Yes, ma'am? I was going to wonder whether there's no gender balance here. We will do that later, after this is done. Yes, thank you. So, thank you.
Any other burning questions? Okay, I think we are good. If you may require any specific interview with the chairperson or with any other member of this team, then talk to me and then we can be able to arrange.
So thank you very much. We appreciate you, and we really enjoy the collaboration we have with the media. Asanteni sana.